Welcome back to the Gray Area. This is Eric Henderson.
This is Dejan Amon, and today we got my man Shaun Willis on the show to talk about his political views and about, the lesser of two evils. So first off, we want Shaun to first tell him about himself.
How you doing? I'm Shaun, or Shaun. I'm a graduate of Hanover College. Got my bachelor's in computer science, and then I do a lot of just political research, and I also do a little bit of real estate investing on the side.
Okay. All right. So one of the reasons that we are focused on this topic is because in like the past 4 years, even with the Trump versus Hillary election, I've seen a lot of people saying they defer their voting right because they feel like they were choosing between the lesser two evils. And they rather not have either candidate in office, but the reality is one of the candidates is going to be in there. So we see a repeat of this with Biden and Trump. And I would like to ask you, Shaun, who are you? Do you plan on voting for either one?
So probably not. But here's the thing why. If I had to pick a candidate, like if you absolutely made me pick a candidate and say like you have to go and vote, I would have to pick Trump, but I probably won't vote just because.
Wait, pause real quick. Let me react for the people. Push.
That's something that I would never thought you would have said, man. You gotta dig that out and package that. So if you ask, most people are not gonna say, like most black people especially are not gonna say like I would vote for Trump. The reason I would say I would vote for Trump if I had to would be that because what Biden has done to black people, he's incarcerated over 250,000 black people with the bill that he helped write for Bill Clinton back in the early 90s. So that has hurt black people a lot, and then he's really big on crime. And we know crime bills, they disproportionately affect black people usually because those codes and whatnot are enforced more so in black communities. So that's the reason I would say that. But when you bring that up, like what's going on in our brain, we're thinking about how like Trump is regressing, and it's like a sense of he's bringing the country backwards and not like trying to push things forward. Do you feel that like if people continue to vote for him and he gets this second term, that he'll push things even further backwards? Because we can look at how he like tried to take control of this coronavirus, and he was a little late to the party for that and all of these things. So how do you see that going?
Well, so, and then and even when also Trump is taking back the LGBTQ laws, then he is taking back immigration laws. Then he is trying to undo Obamacare, which is a more progressive way of getting people who cannot afford health care, stuff like that. So he's unsigning laws that were leading to, we would say, progress.
Right. So I would say the first to respond to Eric, I would have to ask you, how would you say that he is basically reverting America back? I would say economically, he's not reverting it back. I would say economically, he's improved our economy as far as money goes. As far as race relations, I will say that he has probably caused those tensions just because he says a lot of things that are open-ended, which is one of the reasons why I probably will be voting for him. And then there's other policies that he's put in place and actions that he's taking that I feel are not best actions. If I were to vote him in, it wouldn't be in the best interest because the good things that I like about him won't outweigh the bad. But there's more good that I see that he could possibly do than Joe Biden. As far as DJ, you were talking about the LGBT community and rolling back Obamacare. I think Obamacare was something that was interesting. I know a lot of people liked it. A lot of people didn't like it. That really, to me, is not a matter of like race relations. It's more so a matter of economic and class issues. Just because a lot of people that didn't like Obamacare were people that were working, people that were middle class, upper class, that were working because obviously their money, there were more taxes being taken away from their money so that they could pay for somebody else to have health care. Now, in the essence, is that good? Yes, but also we've seen that free health care, and it's not the best option. The best option for providing the best health care would be having a free market in healthcare, but right now that market is closed. So that market is basically limited to a certain amount of companies. And I would say that somebody that's willing to do that would be the best candidate. As far as him rolling back Obamacare, it didn't affect me personally. Now, as far as the community, I know it might affect some people in the community, and that's obviously not the best option, but it affected people across the board. So I can't take that as a race issue. So I'm speaking more so from the perspective of the black community.
Okay, that's what I was trying to say. It was basically for all groups of communities, because you could say LGBTQ, but then you also have black people that are LGBTQ. Then you have a lot of men that are LGBT. Like it's intersectionality of everybody's identity. So when Trump starts to roll back things, it's going to affect people on different levels. Like we can talk about women's health, pro-choice. He's not allowing women to have birth control, or he's allowing doctors to refuse that choice and say somebody got raped and they didn't want to have the child and stuff like that if somebody's not ready to do it. So that's what I'm saying. Like,
I think that with the healthcare, with the abortion and women pro-choice. Me personally, I believe that you should have a choice. I believe that you should be able to do what you want. Now, it is counterproductive, and I am always conflicted when I'm thinking of this because I don't disagree with what he's doing, just because it helps our community. Why it helps our community is because when you look at the numbers for abortion rates, who's getting the most abortions?
African American.
They're getting it, and I don't want to give the exact because I can't remember the exact percent, but I believe it's somewhere around 90% of abortions are Black. So that's one thing. That's a lot of our children and a lot of our people that are dying. Now, some people say that they're not people yet. They haven't even formed into a fetus. So me personally, I think I should have a choice, like I said. But I don't disagree totally with them because it would help our community. It would have more people in our community. We wouldn't be losing our birth rate. Our birth rate wouldn't be going down and all of those things too. So I become conflicted a little bit when you're talking about it. But if I were to put in legislation, I wouldn't care. I wouldn't try to limit you and tell you when you can get rid of your child. But I would encourage better like sex education courses and things like that, so you could be more responsible and make responsible decisions.
Okay, I definitely feel you on that. I want to quickly go back to when you had spoke about the economy and how under Trump's administration, you said the economy got a little bit better. So I'm reading this article right now, and it's talking about in May, the unemployment rate ticked down from April's near 40-year high, but still roughly 10% points higher than its pre-crisis level. And I've been seeing a lot of things mentioning that the unemployment rate is just skyrocketing, obviously with Corona, but also the economy, they're talking about how it's a little worse than the last depression that we went through in like 2008 or something. So do you still think that under Trump's administration that the economy is growing, though that, we're taking that we're in coronavirus right now, but even before then, how do you feel about that? Because it seems like people were still losing their jobs. Not many people were like well off. Because I knew in my personal life, like people were struggling and trying to find jobs. And I don't know, like, do you think the economy is this strong under his administration?
So the reason I think the economy is stronger is a couple of reasons. When I'm saying there's a couple different things that I'm looking at. One, I'm looking at my community, and I'm looking at which is the Black community. Our employment rates definitely went down. Now, the quality of jobs is what you also have to look at, because you can give somebody a job and they'll be employed. Now, I do think that our quality of jobs necessarily didn't change, but I think there were more people that had jobs, more people that were employed. And actually, I can't say I think that. I know that by the statistics, it went from near 5%, I think, at the end of Obama's term to about 3.8% right before the coronavirus pandemic. So that's one thing when I'm looking at the economy, but also you have to look at how Trump has went to the board with China. You have to look at how he's negotiating that deal, because what China is doing is, and a lot of people don't like him for this because he's
like all the tariff stuff and they're taxing.
Right, he's impacting trades and tariff and taxes and all of that. So that is an issue in itself. But the reason that that's happening is because we're at the board with China, and we're trying to tell them like, hey, listen, y'all take all of the jobs, but they don't want to give anything. So he sat down and he's making them come to the table to negotiate these deals that we currently have in place so that it's more beneficial for the United States. Right now, we're giving them all of the business, and China is growing and having a growing amount of power. And
I mean, that is true. That is true.
Like the mass companies back over to the United States and stop trying to mass produce all in these other countries and stuff.
Yeah, right. And then also China is only doing all the exporting. They're not taking in anybody's like stuff. So they like, we want to build everything and y'all gonna pay us for it, but we don't want anything that y'all trying to give to us.
And which is why I say when you take it back. So when you take it back earlier to your first question that you asked, like what has he's trying to revert America back. I think in the economy sense, I think that's what that statement actually stood for. The Make America Great statement actually stood for bringing the economy back to a position where it was once at. Because when you think back in the day, like your parents, all of our parents are probably around the same age. Our parents used to be able to go get a job at like a factory, at like a production plant for like Ford or any of those, and have a good lifestyle. They could buy a house and have a comfortable lifestyle, have the cars they wanted, whatever, and put money aside for retirement and all of that. So they could live a good life because we had those kind of jobs here. We don't have those kind of jobs here anymore. One is partially because of technology, but also because we sent a lot of our jobs overseas. So we don't have those type of jobs for people anymore. So that could bring more jobs into the economy. And that's what he was trying to do to lower our employment rate even lower than it was at before the pandemic.
quick follow-up on that, because that's an interesting topic that you brought up. So, like, if we have these factory jobs and doing all of those, like, labor positions, do you think in this day and age that we're living in with the type of people we are and how you mentioned the technology, do you think people will actually want to do these type of jobs? And do you think that's also a part of why maybe that doesn't get as much attention anymore, because people aren't really swayed to work in a factory or do these things because we have technology? People can be on there, do an influencer type of thing and be on YouTube like how we're trying to do.
Yeah.
So,
I think that, yeah, there are people, because there's people like us that would do that. There's people like y'all that do these type of things. I do YouTube myself. There's people that go on YouTube and try to do that, but we have to realize too, yes, YouTube is profitable, especially if you become popular and all of that on the internet. You can make a lot of money on the internet, don't get me wrong. Everybody can't do that. And a lot of people still are, when they're looking for work or they're looking to make money, they're looking for jobs. And they're not, most of the time from my experience, they're not looking for which job fits like my interest the best. They're looking for like which job pays the most. So if I can bring factory jobs over here in like a production plant for like Ford or a production plant for like Toyota or something like that. If I could bring that over here and then I tell them, listen, I'll pay you $25 an hour to do this. That's college wages. That's more than some people with college degrees are making. So they're gonna be like, yeah, I'll take that job, because it's gonna be, I mean, and it's not gonna be as hard as it once was, because you're not gonna be there like drilling every nuts and bolts into cars and stuff like that, because you're gonna have the machinery. So technology is gonna work hand in hand with the people. So it won't bring back as many jobs as there once were, because you don't need those jobs anymore. But it will bring back more jobs, because there are people in China and other countries that we're outsourcing to that do the exact same thing. They make a way lower wage, but we can bring those jobs here and pay people and boost our economy. But a lot of people don't want to do that because corporations want to keep as much money as they possibly can. Yeah. So that's part of it too, and that's part of the struggle to get this back like we wanted it to.
Okay, so one thing I want to ask you is there any of Joe Biden's laws or campaign things that you disagree with at the time? I know you said that he has done a lot of bad to the Black community in the past, in the 90s, by passing the laws. Is there anything currently that is like, I wouldn't vote for him because he's trying to promote this at this time?
Yeah, there's one thing. So everything else Joe Biden says, like, he's gonna do good on. He's gonna do, like, he's pro-choice. He's like for communities of color, and he wants to help communities of color equal out everything, the playing field. All that is good. I technically agree with that. I just don't trust that that's what he wants to do, just because of his past like actions that he's taken. Now, the one thing that I do absolutely disagree with is his gun control. He wants to ban guns, and I'm just not for that at all.
So
I own guns.
Let us guess for the people. You have a gun, Shaun?
I have multiple guns, but I go to the range every week, twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week, because you should practice when you got a gun. You should learn how to use your gun, know how to use your gun. I'm absolutely against that, because I do think that we have a right to carry firearms. In a city like Chicago, where we're up 50% from last year, this time we have 50% in murders. There's little kids out here. I read an article, 10 to 16 robbing people at gunpoint for their cars. Like, it's getting crazy out here. And I'm like, I do think that people that are just trying to live their life, their life law-abiding citizens, they're trying to live their life peacefully, just go about their day. I do think they should be able to own a firearm to protect themselves, because the police can't get there when you need them. The police, most of the time, the police won't be there when you need them, even if you're able to call them before it happens. So that person will have been and robbed you or shot you.
So what is it about gun rights that Joe Biden is trying to affect? I know last time we spoke, you said he was trying to put like a tax on it, and you think that'll affect on what type of people could be able to afford the gun if they come from a poor community, and poor communities are more likely to be violent and whatnot. So,
well, let me just say he's completely anti-gun. So I'll get to that one that I was telling you about in a second. So what he wants to do, the first thing that he wants to do is he wants to have smart guns. Smart guns are stupid.
You said
because they're not smart guns, so they have like this fingerprint sensor on them. Yeah, they have like this fingerprint, so your fingerprint has to be scanned for it to be able to shoot. And I don't have time to put my fingerprint on there. Somebody's robbing me and be like, hold on, give me a second, let me make sure it can scan my finger, so then I can shoot you.
That seems like a way to make sure you track, like, whenever you shoot somebody or when you kill somebody, so then you can always know at any moment who is firing something, what they got. So then it's like this invasive thing. That's really interesting. And they haven't been tested. So I'm not willing to carry something that hasn't been tested, but I can carry something like a Glock that's been around for over 150 years that's reliable and proven. So I don't want to carry that. What we were talking about was HB 5717, which is still currently trying to be passed. But this bill has about, I think, 10 to 12 laws in it that would concern guns. All of them go over the most intense ones, which are
that there's going to be a 50% tax, if passed, there's going to be a 50% tax on firearms, and then there's going to be a 30% tax on ammunition. So that means you buy a $500 gun, you're going to pay $750 for the gun, and then you're going to buy one box of ammo for about $35, $40 now because it's going up because there's an ammo shortage. So $40 for ammo, you're going to take 30% of that, you're going to be at $12. So $52 on top of another $750, $800 for a $500 gun with one box of ammo. That's ridiculous. Yeah. And then you're going to have to take this mandatory class that you're going to have to pay $200 for, $150, $200 for, just to own a gun. And normally you don't have to take that class to own a gun. You either get a license or with your state ID, you're entitled to go and buy a gun. It depends on your state. So it's outrageous. Then they want universal background checks, which means that if I buy a gun in Illinois and I go and move to Florida, the Florida police know that I own that gun. So they could easily come and confiscate it. And I don't want that. Just like if you buy your guns in another state, if you got a license to buy your gun in another state, Chicago, Illinois doesn't have to know you even have or own those guns. Only the other state would. Or let's say you lived in Indiana or Ohio or something. Only those states would know that you own that gun. And also, there was one more that he wants that's in there. After the universal background check, there's one more I can't think of it right now. But there's another one. I can get it to you later to put in like your link at the end. But there's a lot in that bill that I don't stand for because it just restricts like gun owners' freedom to be able to carry. We already in Chicago don't have much freedom to carry. Even if you have concealed carry, there's so many limitations. Oh, and the poor people, that's the part I was going to get to. It's harder for poor people to be able to get those type of to get guns because one, if you guys spend $800 on the gun and the ammo itself, that's a lot of people don't have $800 extra laying around. Yeah, you guys spend $200 on the class, you spend over $1,000 just to get a $500 gun, just to buy it. Like right now, I could just go and buy that $500 gun for $500 plus tax and take it home. But now it's going to be like $1,000 if that get taxed. So it's a lot.
And so what you're trying to say is people who are righteously trying to have a gun is going to be harder for them. And the ones who basically are going to commit the crimes, they don't even have the license and stuff like that. So the people that need protection are not going to be able to get the firearms needed.
Most gun control doesn't make any sense just because people that shoot schools up, that shoot up mass events, all of these things.
Churches.
They go into places where guns are prohibited. They're not going to walk up to the door and be like, oh, wait, there's a no gun sign. I'm not going to do this today. I'm going to just come back when they take the sign down. They're going to go in there and they're going to shoot anyway. It's better to have somebody that does have a gun, that legally carries a gun in there, that has hopefully been trained and training so that if something like that happens, that person would be unsuspected. They wouldn't even know that I have a gun or that other person has a gun. And they come in there and they get ready to start shooting. Maybe I see them pull a gun out and I can shoot them before they even get to shoot anybody. So the gun control laws don't make sense. It's just a way to get guns out of the hands of the people. And a lot of people support it because it sounds good on the surface. Just like the crime bills. They sounded good on the surface. But when you look at the numbers, they disproportionately affected black people. And that's what gun control does too. Because a lot of those white people out in the other neighborhoods outside of Cook County, they can own anything on the board. Outside of Cook County, where most of the black people at, they can own AR-15s, AK-47s, and all of that. Inside of Cook County, you can't own it. And that's where most of the black people in Illinois are at, in Cook County. So it also, it's a lot of things that go into it when you really break it down and look at the numbers and look at the areas that it's really affecting.